Monster Gardeners. Today we have John from Quest. He's going to be telling us a little bit more about their amazing dehumidifiers and what it is that makes them stand head and shoulders above the competition. So who is Quest?
Quest is a division of Thermistore. Thermistore is our larger company. Thermistore makes efficient dehus for multiple markets around the world. And about 10 years ago, we came out with Quest specifically for the gardening industry.
And how did Quest get into the gardening space? What was the decision to go with that?
So about 10, 11 years ago, we started getting some sales to California, which to us in the Midwest, where our company is based, we didn't understand why a dry hot state like California needed dehumidifiers. So our founder of Quest, Cliff Tomasini, investigated the industry and found out that it was for indoor gardening. And then he came back and helped us tailor dehumidifiers specifically for indoor gardening, greenhouses, and drying.
Yeah, because the residential space is a lot different, right? Because at home, your dehumidifier is not going to be running 90% of the time. It's going to be running more like 40, 30, 50% of the time, right?
Yeah, and the Quest ones for gardening are designed to run 24/7 hard.
And that's important. It's important to keep the humidity at a certain level during different stages of both flower and veg. We see Quest as one of the better, if not best, in terms of dehumidification because you guys are so efficient in the way that the machines work, and have great warranty and customer services there as well, which is huge to us as well to our viewers. So why would you say that a Quest dehumidifier is better than one of your competitors?
You kind of covered it with the efficiency aspect. So Quest, what we value most is efficiency and quality. Our dehus are easily twice as efficient than anyone else, and then they're designed to last a lifetime. And then, like you said, the 5-year warranty as well to ensure that.
And that's great. I mean, that covers everything. It's not like a limited warranty. It covers everything.
Yes.
That's awesome. So one of the questions that we get asked really, really frequently, and we actually even put together a chart that you can see on our website at monstergardens.com, is how to properly size a dehumidifier to a room.
Yeah, so sizing can be a little tricky. We like to go by the water usage. We find that the amount that you're watering is typically what you need to be able to dehumidify to properly control your space.
So water in, water out.
Exactly. Now there are other factors, such as if you're planning on ventilating, what size AC, what area of the country you're in. All those come into play, and that's where we want you to reach out to us. We can guide you through the process of sizing. And we have Quests around the country available to talk to you at any time.
Again, there's that customer service we were talking about. So a lot of people are, because of the changing legal environment here in California and other states as well, a lot of people are getting into tent setups or even dry rooms and utilizing these within those as well. So what's different about putting a dehu in a tent as opposed to having a dehu in a room? I know a lot of the tents out there probably can't handle the weight of one of your standard size units. So would that be like a ducting situation then?
Yeah, that's perfect for ducting. So all of our units can be ducted. What you want to make sure that you do though is when the unit is outside the space, that you're pulling from that tent and then putting right back into it. So pulling into here and then putting right back in from the supply side.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a question that again that we do get a lot of the time. One of the things that's always kind of mystified me is the AHAM rating.
Yeah, AHAM. So that is the format for rating a dehu. That is the standard. All dehus should be rated at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 60% relative humidity. Unfortunately, not all of them are, but all of Quest's are.
We've had that experience in the past. There was actually a manufacturer that I won't name that was telling us that their units did like 540 pints a day or something crazy like that. And come to find out, actually getting inside of a commercial garden space, they're doing closer to like 340. We have never had that issue with you guys. The only thing that we have noticed, and we touched on this earlier when you and I were talking about the unit, especially like if you're potting up in a room, that can create a lot of dust. And this filter in here needs to be changed fairly regularly.
Yes, we recommend at least every grow cycle. If not more. It really just matters about the cleanliness of the room and inspecting it, every now and then, and it's pretty easy to change, especially on the 10 series. It's just a magnetic holder where you can see the filter right inside there, but each one is different. But yes, regular changing is paramount.
It's part of the maintenance,
yeah.
Right? So we wanted to touch on some of the new units that you guys have come out with, because we've been getting a lot of questions on these, and I know there's one that's called the 506, which it's a beast.
Yeah.
And it's really efficient too at the same time.
Yeah, that's the big thing with the 506 is that, it's high capacity, 506 pints per day at 8 amp. But it's also extremely efficient. It's now the second most efficient dehu in the world, only second to our 105 that we make as well, at 8.1 pints per kilowatt hour for the 506.
That is way more efficient than a lot of units that I'm used to seeing. So you also have a 70 pint that you recently came out.
Yeah, you were talking about tent setups. That would be great for a tent setup. It's really small. It's 21 inches wide, long by 12 inches wide by 12 inches high. It's very small, and it also can be ducted, and actually the back of it can be inverted if you wanted to duct it straight up instead of the straight through air path design.
Okay, and what does that unit weigh?
It's about 65 pounds. A little hefty.
It's that, well, you got to consider it's not that bad. I mean, there are some fixtures out there that have been brought to market recently. One of them is a combination CMH-DE fixture that is self-ballasted, and that thing weighs 70-80 pounds. So if you can hang one of those, I would assume you can hang one of these in your tent as well. But again, you can stick it on the outside and duct in. Is there any disadvantage to running a duct setup with these?
No, as long as you keep the ducting length and turns of the ducting to a minimum. We always try to recommend less than 25 feet, and the shorter you can make it, the better. The more efficient the unit's going to run.
Just like with an inline fan or anything else, the more twists and turns you put in it.
Yeah, more length,
the
less the CFM you're going to get. And less CFM means less pints per day.
That makes perfect sense. So I also have been reading about this other product that you have. It's kind of like a mini split, a DQ all-in-one. It's the 185 Cool.
Yeah, so it is not an AC. It is a dehumidifier that's producing cold air, about 4,300 BTUs to be exact. And it does have an outdoor condenser, 185 pints per day at 6.6 pints per kilowatt hour.
So the outdoor condenser, does that actually take the water that's coming like from the condensate tubes? Does that take that outside, or is that just for recycling the refrigerant?
That's just recycling the refrigerant. That's kicking the heat outside.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And the indoor unit is the evaporator portion. And that's where the water drain goes like a normal WIS DU inside the space.
Okay. Also, another new thing, and I don't think anybody else really in this space has actually brought one of these to market yet, and that's the desiccant unit.
Yeah, desiccants are a little different. I'll try not to go too in-depth on it, but desiccants allow you to pull relative humidity levels down much further than a refrigerant dehu. Granted, the cons are that it's not as efficient, but it can operate in low temperatures and bring the relative humidity down to theoretical zero.
So, and regular dehumidifiers, because of the way that they function, they're not able to operate in lower temperatures like that and still be able to pull air out. It needs to be hot and humid, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's a refrigerant system, so you're limited to freezing temperatures. Whereas desiccant does not have a refrigerant system, and it's only using an absorbent material to pull the moisture out of the air.
So, kind of like for analogy, like the Bevita packs and the Integris, how they use a similar type of thing to pull the moisture out and to keep it consistent. This is a lot like that.
Exactly. It's like the stuff that's in the shoebox when you buy a new pair of shoes. It's like that on a large scale that actually gets regenerated. So it's not just like a one-time use.
Okay. Humidistats. What one do you recommend? Is there anyone that you feel works better with your units? Do you like the Honeywell?
No. Honestly, any low voltage unit for our 5 series, anything of ours that has the low voltage capabilities will work with a low voltage controller. I don't really prefer one over the other. I don't like to take sides. There's a lot of good controller companies out there.
Absolutely.
And they all offer, varying products. So, yeah.
Do you provide wiring diagrams to wire it up to those controllers?
We do, yes. Just give us a call, because they're always coming out with new controllers, and sometimes it takes us, contacting the manufacturer to get an updated diagram.
Okay, and that's always, again, you guys are just a phone call away.
Yeah, exactly.
So the other things that have been kind of new is you have the new portable fans, the F9, the H5. Those units are more about moving air. I actually anecdotally, my dad's house went through the fires recently, and they actually brought a couple of those F9 coolers into the house just to move the air around and try and get rid of that smoke smell. So that was my first practical application seeing them. What should we know about these units? What's important to know?
Yeah, so the F9, big key features is power and efficiency again. It's almost 1,000 CFM and only 1.9 amps. And it has a pull down, shoot out design. So typically people like to put them on the floor of the room to get that air circulating underneath the canopy. The H5 is very similar in that it pulls down and shoots out, but the H5 is actually a HEPA filter and merlin filter.
You know, I think that's what they had at my dad's house because they were trying to pull all that stuff out of the air.
Yeah. And
it actually did a pretty good job. I was fairly impressed.
Yeah, HEPA filtration is as high as it gets. That's what they use in hospitals to get all of those particulates out of the air and make sure it's really clean.
All right. So placement is another issue that we get all the time from our online and emails and live chat. We get a lot of questions about where you should place it, especially with regards to the placement of your air conditioner.
That's another one where I'm gonna the general answer is call us. You know, typically we like to recommend centrally located, away from air conditioner, above the canopy and around light level, but it depends on the space. You know, some people don't have room above their lights. Some people have to put it underneath their tables. Some people have to duct it because they don't have any room. So placement, just give us a call. There's really no definitive rule because every grow space is different.
Okay, so let's talk about BTU ratings for a little bit here if we can. That's something that figures very heavily into when you're trying to size an AC system, and a lot of companies out there, no offense guys, have a tendency to undersize their AC units based upon where they're located, where they're manufactured. So obviously somebody that's in the Arizona desert is going to have a higher AC need than somebody that's living, you know, in Lake Tahoe, just because, you know, they're two different climates. So knowing how many BTUs one of these units puts out really helps to size the AC unit, not just based upon the lighting, but also based upon other things within the room that are also generating heat.
Yeah, so each one puts out a different amount of heat. And if you're curious about each different level, just give us a call again. But to keep in mind, BTU heat load from a dehumidifier is a two-part equation. One part is unavoidable, and that is that for every pint of water, every pound of water removed, 1,062 BTUs are created. That's just physics, and there's no getting around it. The other aspect is the electrical consumption of the compressor and everything of the machine. So our units, pint per BTU, have less heat than anybody else.
That's impressive as well. So let's efficiency ratings. Is there like a? I know we talked about the AHAM. That has a lot to do with the efficiency ratings of the unit. Is there like an industry standard in terms of efficiency for these units?
Yeah, that's usually it's pints per kilowatt hour. It's how many pints you can pull from 1 kilowatt hour power. And you know, the number one right now is the 105 at 8.8. And then number two, 8.1, but yeah, pints, how many pints you can pull for 1 kilowatt hour power is how you measure the efficiency of the TP.
Okay. So, in terms of competition and things, and money saved, those are two things that we're always trying to break down the metric for to see, you know, maybe this unit costs a little bit less, but in the long run, because of the efficiency, this unit will actually end up costing you less in terms of ownership and long term. So, in those sort of terms, how quickly would you say over one of your competitors' dehumidifiers would this pay for itself in terms of electrical consumption?
Yeah, typically within a year or so. It's pretty quick. It's pretty quick, and that just compounds. And if you go to the end of the warranty periods at 5 years, that savings is usually significant. It's going to vary depending on how much dehumidification you need and how much you're going to actually save. But the savings are significant because we're typically twice the efficiency of anybody else.
Okay. These are all very good things to know and very good ammo for you guys as well. Something else that I was wondering about, again, are tips and tricks for mounting. Would you recommend unistrut in most cases if you're going to be doing like a ceiling mount? I've seen some people use those straps like you used to tighten the load down on a pickup truck.
Yeah, so we make some hang brackets for each different unit. The 10 series has its own set of brackets. The 5 series has their own set of brackets. Feel free to use Unistrut. There's nothing wrong with that. And then as far as how you actually attach it to the ceiling or mount, it just makes sure that it's rated for that amount of weight for each unit, that the ceiling can hold it, that the cables or chain can hold that type of weight. And the 506, actually, the handles are part of the mounting system. It actually has 3/8 threaded holes drilled into the handles.
So you can just mount it directly to your strip.
Or a 3/8 threaded rod.
Okay, perfect. So we all know that larger units can be a lot heavier, and we all know that there's a lot of people that are growing in warehouses these days. So a really good tip for you guys is to make sure before you try and hang anything to your ceiling is make sure that it's rated to actually handle some weight. Because I've seen a lot of Boeing ceilings out there and things like that because people don't take that into account. Your lights weigh, this weighs, your AC, all that stuff weighs. So you need to make sure that your ceiling is rated for those things so you don't have a catastrophic failure. You mentioned earlier that this has a 5-year warranty and that is complete, all parts, everything. And that is something that we really don't see a lot anymore. And the fact that you guys are going to honor that, we've actually, very few times, but every time we've had any sort of an issue, you guys have been very quick about getting back to us. Thank you for that. So the last thing I really want to touch on is going to be the science behind how the Quest dehumidifier works. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, each unit kind of has a different method of how we want to achieve the greatest amount of efficiency for each individual unit. Really, that goes back to our company as a whole, and that's what we value most. And we just try our best with each individual unit to try to get the most production at the most efficient rate. The 506 uses a new 5-coil system. The 5 series uses a heat exchanger. There's different methods. There's no one method of how we achieve our quality and efficiency. It all goes back to the great people in Madison, Wisconsin that are designing and manufacturing these things.
So you guys could file a lot of patents then, I'm guessing.
We have a bunch.
Yeah, I noticed the 506, that one it's different than a lot of your other ones in a lot of different ways. I know we can't go into too specific about that, but I know you guys do have a patent on that, and that's something that makes you guys also stand out from the pack, because you're not just using other people's technology, you're actually going out there and doing it yourself, which is something that we admire.
Yeah, we've been working on that technology for the better part of a decade, actually. It enabled us to achieve a higher level of efficiency and pint production per day without going up in commensurate size.
So under your corporate umbrella, you have a couple different entities, among them being Santa Fe. So what would be the main differences between a Quest dehumidifier and a Santa Fe dehumidifier? What differentiates this for the garden space specifically?
Yeah, so about 10 years ago when we figured out that people wanted these for grow spaces, we came out with Quest specifically for garden. Santa Fe was designed for residential use, and Quest was for gardening. And we also made some other changes too, that we added low voltage controls and onboard controls, just for more options for growers to have more control over their garden. And then also the warranty is specified for Quest that this is meant for a gardening space, whereas the Santa Fe warranty is meant for residential use. So don't put a Santa Fe dehumidifier in a garden, use a Quest.
Or they'll have a warranty, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, makes perfect sense to me. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank
we
you.
appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in, Monster Gardeners. Quest dehumidifiers and the hundreds of other fabulous products are available at monstergardens.com. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Have a great day.